Welcome to Millennium Daily News. This is Ifat Fatima with top stories. Donald Trump picks James Mattis for Defense Secretary. Trump expresses willingness to solve Pakistan's outstanding issue. Colombia crash pilot reported he was out of fuel. Letter threatening genocide sent to several U.S. mosques. None to be allowed to use Bangladesh soil for terrorism, Prime Minister. Bangladesh Bank signs agreement with 6 banks for Green Transformation Fund. And Barca desperate to break Madrid's unbeaten streak. Those were the headlines, now the detail. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump said he has picked tough-talking retired General James Mattis to be his defense secretary as he soaked up adulation at a large Ohio rally where he pledged to unite the nation. The flash of hard news came during a sea of soaring and then blunt rhetoric from the 70-year-old Republican billionaire who was speaking at his first post-election event following days of meetings about forming his cabinet. "We are going to appoint Mad Dog Mattis as our Secretary of Defense," Trump announced during a post-election victory rally in Cincinnati. He said the formal announcement would be made on very soon. The choice of a seasoned military strategist would be another indication that Trump, a Republican, intends to steer U.S. foreign policy away from Democratic President Barack Obama's increased reliance on U.S. allies to fight armed groups and to help deter Russian and Chinese aggression in Europe and Asia. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump told Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif that he is willing to play any role that Islamabad wants to find solution to its outstanding problems. Mr. Trump made these remarks as PM Sharif called him to congratulate on his recent victory. "I am ready and willing to play any role that you want me to play to address and find solution to the outstanding problems. It will be an honor and I will personally do it." During the telephone conversation, Mr. Trump also praised Mr. Sharif and expressed his desire to meet the Prime Minister soon, Radio Pakistan reported. PM Sharif also invited Mr. Trump to visit Pakistan. In his reply, Mr. Trump said he would love to visit the country and meet its people. Fans mourn for a Brazilian football team decimated in a plane crash that killed 71 people in Colombia as a recording emerged of the panicked pilot reporting he was out of fuel. Authorities are still investigating what caused the charter flight to crash in the mountains outside Medellin as it carried Cinderella story team Japanese rail to a major match. A haunting recording aired by Colombian media appeared to hold answers, though officials have not confirmed its authenticity. Ma'am Lamia 2933 has a total electrical failure without fuel. Pilot Miguel Corrioga tells the control tower in the recording minutes before the jet crashed. In the tape, the pilot had earlier asked for priority to land due to fuel problems. The request was granted by Medellin's International Airport, but the control tower then lost contact with the plane, whose fuselage was found plastered on a hillside 50 kilometers outside the city. Several more mosques in the United States have reported receiving hate-filled letters from California that warn Muslims to leave the country or face genocide. The identical letters postmarked from the Los Angeles area have now shown up at mosques throughout California and in Ohio, Michigan, Rhode Island, Indiana, Colorado, and Georgia. Los Angeles police have been investigating the letters addressed to the children of Satan as a hate incident, but not a crime because it does not contain a specific threat. The letters appear to be photocopies of a handwritten note referring to Muslims as vile and filthy people and saying that President-elect Donald Trump would do to Muslims what Hitler did to Jews. The Council on American Islamic Relations has asked the FBI to investigate. The FBI said the threats, while inflammatory and awful, did not constitute a hate crime, nor did they pose a threat specific enough to investigate at this point. They added they were monitoring the situation and urged anyone to report such incidents. President Vladimir Putin says Russia wants to normalize ties with the United States and join efforts in the fight against international terrorism. Speaking in a live State of the Nation address, Putin said that Russia was ready to take part in tackling global challenges if its interests are respected. We don't want confrontation with anyone, he said in a speech before officials and lawmakers in the Kremlin. Unlike our foreign colleagues who are seeing Russia as an enemy, we have never been looking for enemies. We need friends, Putin said. But we won't allow any infringement on our interests and neglect of them. Elite Syrian troops have moved into East Aleppo ahead of a push into the most densely populated areas as ally Russia called for corridors to bring in aid and evacuate wounded. Despite global criticism, including the UN warning Aleppo risks becoming a giant graveyard, government forces have pressed an assault to retake control of the divided city. The offensive, backed by heavy artillery, has spurred an exodus of tens of thousands of residents from the rebel-held east. It has left Aleppo's streets strewn with the bodies of men, women, and children, many lying next to the suitcases they had packed to escape. Artillery fire continued but subsided as heavy rainfall hit the city. Viewers, now the news on Bangladesh topic. Reiterating her government's zero-tolerance policy against terrorism and militancy, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said no one will be allowed to use Bangladesh soil for terrorist acts against any country. We won't tolerate any sort of terrorism and militancy and won't allow our land to be used for carrying out terrorist acts against any country, she told visiting Indian Defence Minister Manohar Gopal Krishna Prabhu Parikar, who met Hasina at her official residence, Ganobhavan, here in the afternoon. After the meeting, PM's press secretary Ihsanul Karim briefed reporters. Sheikh Hasina recalled with gratitude the contributions of Indian Armed Forces to Bangladesh's Revolution War in 1971. The Prime Minister said she would honor those valiant Indian Armed Forces personnel who embraced martyrdom in the Liberation War during her upcoming visit to India. In reply, the Indian Defence Minister said it was our moral responsibility to extend help to Bangladesh during the Liberation War as a friendly country, and we provided that assistance. Sheikh Hasina thanked the Indian Coast Guards for rescuing Bangladeshi fishermen and handing over them to Bangladesh authorities recently. Viewers, now a short break. We will be right back with the headlines. SAMA to join UNESCO award-giving ceremony in Paris. Bangladesh to send more peacekeepers in South Sudan. Deal signed to build Theka Airport Gazipur BRT route. Iran claims victory in OPEC oil deal. And NASA's Cassini spacecraft said to explore Saturn's rings. Saima Wazid Hossain, the chairperson of Shuchona Foundation and the National Advisory Committee on Autism in Bangladesh, will attend an award distribution ceremony of the UNESCO Emir Jabir Al Ahmad Al Jabir Al Sabah Prize for Digital Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris, France. Saima Hossain, daughter of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, has been elected chairperson of the International Jury Board of UNESCO Emir Jabir Al Ahmed Al Jabir Al Sabah Prize for Digital Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities for the next 2 years. The prize, introduced with the financial support of Kuwait, is offered to both an individual and an organization that has made outstanding contributions in promoting the inclusion of persons with disabilities through the application of digital resources, solutions and technologies, a press release said. The award-giving ceremony will be part of a half-day event celebrating the International Day of Persons with Disabilities to promote awareness and mobilize support for critical issues relating to the inclusion of persons with disabilities in society and development. Bangladesh is set to send an infantry battalion and an engineering company of armed forces of maintain peace in war-torn South Sudan, as TECA has accepted an offer from the United Nations to this end. According to a press release of Bangladesh Permanent Mission to the UN, the United Nations Department of Peacekeeping Operations has recently offered Bangladesh to contribute with an infantry battalion for maintaining peace in South Sudan. The release, signed by Nuri Ilahi Mina, the first secretary of the Bangladesh Permanent Mission to the UN, said the government of Bangladesh has promptly accepted the offer of contributing the infantry battalion composed of 850 personnel. Bangladesh has also received an offer of contributing an engineering company of 260 personnel last month. Both the infantry battalion and engineering company are expected to be deployed shortly under United Nations mission in South Sudan. The government has signed a deal with a Chinese firm to construct the bus rapid transit route from Shahjadal International Airport to Gazipur. Project Director of Greater TECA Sustainable Urban Transport Project Ekram Ullah and Managing Director of Chinese company Gezhoba Group Yang Roman inked the deal on behalf of their respective sites at a city hotel. Gezhoba will construct a 16-kilometer BRT lane, 32-kilometer footpath and a separate lane for slow-moving vehicles for the 20.5-kilometer project at a cost of Taka 855.37 crore. The construction work will end within the next 30 months. Road Transport and Bridges Minister Obaidul Qadir and Liberation War Affairs Minister AKM Muzammal Haq were among others present at the signing ceremony. Viewers, now the Millennium Business News. Iran claimed victory after it was spared any of the cuts in oil production accepted by other OPEC members, including its bitter regional rival Saudi Arabia, to tackle a global glut. Iran's oil victory at OPEC and failure of Riyadh's oil diplomacy were among the headlines in Iranian newspapers a day after the 14-member cartel agreed to reduce its output by 1.2 million barrels per day. Iran, Libya and Nigeria were exempted from the cuts, with Tehran even managing to win the right to increase its production by 90,000 barrels per day over the next 6 months. The other members of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries agreed that Iran should be allowed to return to 2005 production levels of 3,975 million barrels per day before international sanctions crippled its industry. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia, OPEC's most powerful member, agreed at the Vienna meeting to cut 500,000 BPD from its output. The number of total TIN identification holders in the country has stood at 24,41,572 as the National Board of Revenue has registered 10 lakh fresh TINs so far this year. The NBR has issued a total of 24,41,572 TINs till midnight. It has registered 34,609 ETINs on the last day of submission of the tax return on November 30, which is a record in NBR's lifetime. NBR Chairman MD Nojibur Rahman said in a Facebook status this morning. He thanked people for submitting tax return and paying tax, responding to the call of the NBR. Earlier, Finance Minister A.M. Mohit announced to increase the number of TIN holders to 25 lakh this year. The NBR almost has been reached the target. Bangladesh Bank signed participatory agreements with 6 banks for the use of Green Transformation Fund for export-oriented textile and textile products and leather manufacturing industries. The banks which signed the GFTPA separately are Eastern Bank, Jamuna Bank, Mercantile Bank, Prime Bank, Shahjalal Islami Bank and Southeast Bank. Addressing the signing ceremony, Bangladesh Bank Deputy Governor S.K. Sur Chaudhary hoped that the central bank will sign similar deals with other banks as well. Officials said under the agreements, banks will finance textile and leather industries to make their production units environmental and socially compliant. The government earlier constituted the $200 million GTF for the purpose. Viewers, now the Millennium Science and Technology News. In a news cycle still fixated on the US election result, members of the UK's upper house of parliament gave final approval to the country's most invasive surveillance legislation to date. The Investigatory Powers Act gives government agencies unprecedented powers to collect user information in bulk and access data about the websites that Britons visit. The most controversial aspect of the law is the requirement for internet service providers to hold information about every website a user visits for 12 months. Government agencies such as the Security Services, the Inland Revenue and even the Food Standards Agency will be able to access the information for what officials say will be a limited set of specified purposes subject to strict controls. NASA's Cassini spacecraft begins its thrilling ride as it gets ready to get up close to the rings of Saturn. As per NASA, Cassini will begin a daring set of ring-grazing orbits skimming past the outside edge of Saturn's main rings. Cassini will fly closer to Saturn's rings than it has since its arrival in 2004, beginning the closest study of the rings and offer unprecedented views of moons that orbit near them. NASA says between November 30 and April 22, Cassini will circle high over and under the poles of Saturn, diving every 7 days a total of 20 times through the unexplored region at the outer edge of the main rings. We are calling this phase of the mission Cassini's ring-grazing orbits because we will be skimming past the outer edge of the rings, said Linda Spilker, Cassini project scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Pasadena, California. Viewers, now the Millennium Sports News. Barcelona are the more desperate side as Real Madrid visit Catalonia for the first El Clasico of the season, boasting a 6-point lead at the top of La Liga. Madrid have won 15 more points in all in La Liga under the guidance of Zinedine Zidane since the sides last met in April and are riding a 31-game unbeaten run in all competitions. We have more to play for than Madrid they can lose. We can't, said Barcelona defender Gerard Piqué. Barca are off to their worst league start in 9 seasons. However, coach Luis Enrique believes much of the media criticism of this side has been overblown, citing the institutional crisis that Barca overcame in the January his debut season in 2015 to win the treble. Cristiano Ronaldo and Anthony Griezmann both appeared among the 55 nominees for the FIFA Pro 2016 World 11 released recently, but Wayne Rooney failed to make the shortlist for the first time. Portugal captain Ronaldo led his country to victory at Euro 2016, while France forward Griezmann was the top player at the tournament. It is the first time that 25-year-old Griezmann has made the cut, but England captain Rooney is absent for the first time in the competition's 12-year history after England crashed out of Euro 2016 to lowly Iceland. That leaves Juventus goalkeeper Gianluigi Buffon and Real Madrid superstar Ronaldo as the only ever presence for an award based on votes from professional players from 75 countries. The 8 newcomers also include France's N'Golo Kante and Dimitri Payet, Ivorian Serge Aurier, Spaniard Hector Bellerin, Italian Leonardo Bonucci, Belgian Kevin De Bruyne, Argentina's Paulo Dybala, and England's Jamie Vardy. West Indies top-order batsman Marlon Samuel's unbeaten half-century of 69 helped Comilla Victorians to achieve a 5-wicket victory against Khulna Titans in their 11th tussle of the 4th Bangladesh Premier League T20 at Sheribangla National Cricket Stadium. This is Comilla's 4th win from 11 games in the 7-team double league system franchise tournament, which created the way uneven for upper runner Khulna Titans to stay in the race of final 4-team playoff stage. Despite the day's loss, Khulna maintaining their previous positions of 3rd in the points table with 12 points from 11 games, having 6 wins and 5 losses, behind Chittagong Vikings also collected 12 points but from 10 games. Table topper Theka Dynamites collected 14 points from 10 encounters. Both Theka and Chittagong sides still have 2 games to play to stay in the race of their final 4. Poor batting display by Bangladesh allowed Pakistan to post a massive 9-wicket victory in the ACC Women's T20 Asia Cup held at Asian Institute of Technology ground in Bangkok. Batting first after winning the toss, Bangladesh faces serious batting debacle and posted their ever lowest T20 total of 44 in 15.3 overs. The procession of wickets failing began from the 3rd over. Pakistan bowlers threatened early inroad on Bangladesh's top order in no time and grabbed 3 wickets inside 4 overs, leaving Bangladesh in deep trouble. The highest partnership in Bangladesh's innings came during the 10th wicket stand of 17 in 2 overs. Janara Alam was the only batsman for Bangladesh side able to reach the double figure. Pakistan captain Bismah Maruf used 6 bowlers and none of them went wicketless during Bangladesh batting debacle. San Amir bowled 3 overs, bagged 3, conceding only 5 runs, while Ayman Anwar bagged 2 scalps for 9 runs in 4 overs. Before ending, the headlines are once again. Donald Trump picks James Mattis for Defense Secretary. Trump expresses willingness to solve Pakistan's outstanding issue. Colombia crash pilot reported he was out of fuel. Letter threatening genocide sent to several U.S. mosques. None to be allowed to use Bangladesh soil for terrorism, Prime Minister. Bangladesh Bank signs agreement with 6 banks for Green Transformation Fund. And Barca desperate to break Madrid's unbeaten streak. This is all for now from Millennium Daily Newsroom. To get any kind of news, please visit to our social website facebook.com/MillenniumTVUSA and youtube.com/MillenniumTVUSA. Besides, to get the most updated news, please log into our website www.millenniumtv.net. Stay with Millennium. Allah Hafiz.